Hello and welcome to Two Peds in a Pod, the paediatric medical education podcast. Remember, you can hear our entire back catalogue of episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and of course, our SoundCloud. So please tell your colleagues and friends and hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoy today's episode.
Hello and welcome to another ACP special of Two Peds in a Pod podcast. I'm Emma. I'm an advanced clinical practitioner currently working in Children's Emergency Department in Derby, and I'm joined today by Chris and Laura, and we're going to talk about working in Children's Emergency.
Hi, so I'm Chris. I'm a paediatric advanced clinical practitioner as well. I work out of Nottingham Children's A&E. I think I qualified about 2.5 years ago.
And guess what? I'm a PEDS ACP too in Children's Emergency Medicine. My name's Laura and I work in the Children's Emergency Department at the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital. And I've been doing it for about 4 years now.
Did you say how long you've been doing it for, Emma? Or was it just me?
No, I didn't, because I got really nervous. Okay, so I've been working in Derby since 2014. I moved over from a paediatric general ward where I was putting myself through my master's degree. And Derby took me on as a trainee, and I completed my training in 2015.
So you're the old person of the course.
I am.
You're the experience. You're the one we're all going to follow.
You could perhaps say that.
So what do you do what's your day-to-day look like, Emma?
So for me, I purely work in paediatrics. So we have a separate children's department in Derby, and I can be found in all areas of the department. So on a day-to-day clinical basis, that would be anything from helping out with triage when the nursing staff need assistance, to picking up patients, whether they be minors or majors, and seeing them through their treatments, initiating investigations and pulling together plans to see the patient care through. How about you, Laura? What does your clinical day look like?
Well, very similar. We've got quite a small department at the moment, but looking at plans at how we can expand. So we kind of don't have, whilst we've got separate resus, we haven't got separate majors and minors. So all our patients are kind of pulled through one clinical area. But again, seeing whatever comes through the door, treating, making plans for discharge or referring on where needed. Same as you, I work purely in peds. Having said that, recently with the pandemic, I have supported the adult side a little bit, but feel very out of my comfort zone. I
feel like I've missed that pandemic. We've been quite fortunate. So I work in, like you both, I work purely in paediatrics. That's all I look after on a day-to-day basis. To be fair, during the pandemic, we saw a real downfall in footfall to children's ED. That's by the by. This isn't a pandemic podcast. Cool. So I suppose, as Emma, you said, like my day is pretty much seeing patients from arrival to discharge, whether that be discharged home or discharged onto a ward, and just seeing that undifferentiated patient. And whether they present with injury, whether they present with illness, whether they present as trauma, and we do see that in Children's A&E in Nottingham. We're looking at how we can get the ACPs involved in trauma management because we're one of the major trauma centres. And essentially, from my point of view, there's very little to differentiate between what I do and what a typical junior doctor would do in Children's A&E. I mean, our A&E doesn't have a short stay unit, so I suppose one thing that we might do slightly differently to other units, and I think you could probably pick up on this a bit, Emma, because I know you've got a short stay unit attached. I don't know what you do, Laura, but there's also that decision of when does a patient need admission to a ward, when do they need just a bit of observation on a short stay unit, when are they okay to go home? And that's something which is sometimes a bit of a challenge. How does that affect you, Emma?
Yeah, so very similar, really. That's a big part of our role. We're quite fortunate in Derby in that we have a team of EMPs, and so they very much take care of the trauma and the minor injury that comes through the department. So we're left with the medical stuff. We do have a short stay unit, and we can have the decision to keep patients for a short period of time and observation. And that gives us the flexibility for those patients, such as the viral wheezers, that might not need to come in overnight, but might need to stay with us for a few hours longer. We can place them down there and continue to deliver care to them. That's often challenging in itself, having patients down on the observation unit, as well as the patients that you're caring for in the department. However, we've got quite a good sense of team spirit in Derby, and we're all really good at pulling together to make sure that all the patients are safe and cared for. I think it is challenging making that decision about whether a patient needs to be admitted to the observation unit, or actually whether we need to cut our losses and just admit the patient. And that's often, you sat there with that decision in your hand. But again, we're really well supported in Derby with an excellent team of consultants and registrars who will help to guide you through that process and that decision making, which is fantastic.
I think we're much the same as you, Chris. We haven't got a short stay. And in some ways, Emma, I think we've got a bit of an easier decision than you have when you're thinking about kind of, do I admit to short stay, or do I admit actually we don't have that decision to make? If they need more than the kind of 4 hours we've got, then they get referred from my point of view and carry on that period of observation on the children's assessment unit.
So do you have, Laura, one of the things that we've got set up is for those patients who probably need a little bit longer observation, but maybe don't need admission. So I'm thinking typically of the kid that's ingested maybe some essential oils that probably don't need to be admitted overnight or for a long period, but they need 6 hours observation, and you're not able to do that in the department. Do you have like a nurse-led discharge that you can kind of set up so that when they go to the ward, that you kind of write that, get it signed off by someone, and then the nurses on the ward can discharge them after a certain amount of time, or is that not something you guys have?
No, it's not. So we would formally refer to PEDS, and PEDS would follow up that care. Okay. So our nursing staff come under Women's and Children's Directorate, but from a medical staff point of view, we come under emergency medicine. So it's kind of that cross-directorate working, so they would get formally referred.
So I guess you have quite a higher number of patients that you don't see through to completion, because that's one of the things that I really like about having the short stay unit. And one of the things that drew me to the role actually is being able to see patients through from their arrival at the front door to completion of their care. And the observation unit really helps us to be able to do that. It's quite a number of patients that, like you say, the accidental ingestions, the viral wheezers, kids that just need a little bit of investigation but probably don't need to come in. That's quite nice to be able to see the end of their care.
Yeah, there is a proportion that we don't get to follow up, although we now all use the same computer system, so we can see what has happened to our patients and things, which makes it a bit better. But still, I don't think we refer masses of patients, so I don't think it's a massive proportion. Most of the patients I see still get seen through and discharged home. So, and
sometimes it's nice to be able to hand them on to someone else, to be honest. Sometimes you get to sort of 4 hours like, you know what, I'm kind of feel that someone else needs to take fresh eyes at this case. So there is a cheeky little, I know this isn't the best referral in the world, but I'd appreciate you guys taking a look at this for me. I don't know, maybe that's because I'm a bit naughty. But...
Short attention spans.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why I work relatively well in ED.
Yeah, same here.
Something tiny over there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No chance of getting bored doing the same thing all the time.
No, absolutely not. So we talked in the last, or we didn't talk, but in the last ACP podcast, they talked about the other 4 pillars of advanced practice and how, as an advanced practitioner, that's kind of core to what we do. And clinical, I think we can all, anyone who looks at my job, and I'm sure the same for you guys, can readily see how I fulfill the clinical pillar.
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to the other 3 of research, education, and leadership, maybe that's not quite so obvious. So what do you guys do to show development in your other pillars of advanced practice?
So I think for me, research is probably the hardest one to show that you're doing something. Though crazily, I've just applied to do a professional doctorate. I don't know why, but thought while I've kind of not had much time off studying, let's go for it, because I'm really keen on kind of trying to improve things and get doing a little bit of research. I guess from a research perspective, most of my focus is looking at kind of doing that kind of critical appraisal of papers and things. And to try and encourage the team to do that, I've set up a journal club recently. So we're all doing a little bit of kind of appraisal of research at the moment. But I'd quite like to get involved in a little bit of research. And crazily enough, the thing that I want to look at when it comes to my professional doctorate would be kind of our role in education within emergency medicine, because you see so many people doing so many different things. I really want to get an idea of what people are doing and where we can go with education from kind of an ACP point of view, what type of education we can deliver.
That's a seamless link there.
Into
your next pillar.
Totally not done on purpose.
That's really interesting, Laura. And I would agree. When it comes to doing that yearly appraisal, you sort of sit down with your portfolio and you think, right, I've got stacks for my clinical. How about the other three? And I think the same as you, actually. It's always that research pillar where it is very much about making sure that we're up to date with research and making sure that we're delivering the best practice that we can. However, in terms of being involved with research at the moment, for myself personally, it's quite minimal, but I do quite a bit in the education pillar. I think that's really interesting what you're doing.
So I think for me, I'm completely different to you guys, because I think research is probably the pillar that's most misunderstood, because I think actually you're probably involved in research more than you think you are. Because to me, research is about maintaining a current evidence base in practice. So just reading papers, like getting involved in Twitter in the FOMED movement, is going to be having a look at what's going on. And then when you find out, hang on, this new innovation, could this benefit our department? That's research. When you're looking at doing audit, because most ACPs are involved in audit in some way, whether that be primarily leading or being involved in data collection for an audit, that's research, and that's research that's direct to practice. I think when people think of research, we think of it as this pie in the sky, I'm going to go and do a randomized control trial and save the world. And that's fine. And that is research, and that's really important. And I'm not suggesting that that's invalid at all. But for me, research is about how can I bring what's already known into my current practice, and how can I bring these developments that are being brought forward into what we're doing. So I think actually kind of what Laura said, and I suppose what Emma said as well, there is this real link between research and education. And although we have them as separate pillars, I really don't think that you can think of them as separate, because when you're involved in education, you're actively involved in research, in the research pillar, because you're looking at what does the research say. So let's talk about lumbar punctures, for example. I say that because I know, Emma, you're involved in the teaching of lumbar punctures. What does the research say around best practice in lumbar punctures? When should we not be doing them? When should we be doing them? Right. And I'm now going to take that research, take that evidence, and use that to change practice and make practice better and make practice safer. And I suppose I'm a bit biased because I love research. I work with our research team, and I've been involved in recruitment for trials. I sit on the Research and Innovation ACP panel at Queen's. So I've got a bit of a bias towards research, but I do think it's misunderstood. And I do think that it's the one pillar that all ACPs sit there thinking, oh, research, the others I can kind of see how I do in my day-to-day practice, but this one just seems airy and wishy-washy. But actually, it really is there, and it's really important to all of us. Sorry, that's my high horse. I'm down. I've gone off the box.
No, that's really interesting, because I hadn't thought about it like that.
No, me
but
either.
Actually, that is so true. Yeah. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm coming up to credentialing with RChem at the moment. So kind of evidence in the 4 pillars has been really easy because it's all covered by the RChem curriculum. But I'll probably have to think a little bit more about it after September when I
yeah,
and about how I can and what I'm going to do going forward. Although I'm quite keen for kind of research service development, keep my hand in management and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it'll be difficult, but we will see.
No, that's a really helpful way of looking at it, Chris. And actually, you've managed to make me fill a little bit more of my portfolio now, thinking about it the way that you do. Because actually, yeah, I am quite heavily involved in education and the promotion of FOMED and within the department, distributing education and best practice. So actually, you're right. I am quite involved in research. So nice little pat on the back there for myself.
I suppose education is one that people most readily think of as the easiest one to hit, isn't it? Because actually, I don't know about you guys, I do teaching for nurses. When the new nurses come in, we'll do kind of ad hoc teaching for them on topics that they feel unconfident with. When the SHOs are around, we do kind of some teaching for them if they need it. Education is there. And Emma, we've both been involved pre-pandemic regional teaching days. So Nottingham and Derby, for those of you that don't know, are relatively close to each other. And it's not like football, there's not the rivalry. It's very much more we're able to learn from each other. So we used to have quarterly regional teaching that we were both involved in, which has been great. And hopefully once the pandemic starts to tail off a little bit, we can get that restarted again. Do you have anything like that down with you, Laura?
Well, not anything that's PED specific. There has been some regional stuff done, but we haven't done it for a while, but nothing PED specific. I'm not sure how many PEDS ACPs are around in the East region, but I'm really keen to do a bit of kind of networking and get to know some of them. I think it would be really great for us all to be able to work together.
We've definitely found that the regional days they're invaluable to see what our neighbours are doing, and their practice is often slightly different than ours. And so learning from them and them learning from us and us all coming together and having that opportunity to share what we've been doing, it's been really great. And we've had some absolutely fantastic teaching from guest speakers on those days. It's been brilliant.
Maybe you'll find from this, Laura, you'll get loads of people tapping you up on Twitter being like, oh, I work in Ipswich. That's me assuming Norwich is near Ipswich. This is my knowledge of the East. Like
they are our local football rivalry.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how I knew they must be close, because there is a rivalry. But maybe you'll find there are people who are around the area who are like-minded, who listen to this and can get in contact.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
So I guess we've talked about our educational pillar, and we've realised that we fulfil our research pillar probably more than we actually think. And we all know that we're fulfilling that clinical role. So how about leadership? How do you guys feel you fit into a leadership role within your departments?
I think whilst we don't lead the department, often we are still providing leadership support to the nursing staff, particularly if there's junior staff on a shift. We're supporting them running the shift and doing it from that perspective. And again, when we've got junior doctors working with us, providing them with a little bit of leadership as to how the children's department runs and things. So we're doing that. And kind of thinking more widely about leadership, thinking about the other bits and pieces that fall under it, things like service improvement and things. I think they all come under leadership a little bit, don't they? So any kind of service improvement projects. And whilst leadership and management are different, we still also do a little bit of the management-y type stuff when it comes to incidents and that kind of stuff.
They're different, but we think of them together, don't we?
Yeah.
You always think of them. I think the question, I suppose, comes down to what is leadership, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Like, if you're thinking that leadership is standing at the front leading the charge, then maybe we don't do that as much. But I think I try to act as a good role model in the department. I try to act in a way that's professional and fulfills the expectation of me as a senior within the department, because I'm being paid a decent wage to act in this capacity as an ACP, and a lot of that is because of the roles and responsibilities that I'm expected to uptake. But because I've been given this position, there's an expectation that I'll behave in a way that's in line with trust values and behaviours and professional values and behaviours. And I think by role modelling that, other people can see that actually this is the way to behave, this is the way that we should be doing things.
Yeah.
I don't think I get it right all the time. I think I'm human. I know that we all make mistakes, but it's trying to learn from those and make the department better in that way.
I completely agree. And I think that by sitting at that interim between the medical and nursing model, I think that we do have a leadership role. And when we have quite a lot of junior staff that will rotate through the department, and we are a constant in that department, and we know how the department runs, the things that are important to keep the flow of patients through the department. But we also have that nursing insight as well, what the nursing staff need in order to fulfill what we need in our practitioner role when seeing those patients. And I think that we have a really valuable leadership role, and I feel quite valued in my role, and I feel that I contribute well to that leadership. And I think it's important that we are given those opportunities, and I think there's a lot that we can achieve within our departments. And I think it's really nice to be able to, like you say, lead by example and show the way forward, and that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that kind of thinks about like going forwards then. So 10 years time, how do you see the role of developing within where you guys are? I can't see myself working as a junior doctor SHO for the next 20, 25 years of my career. I think burnout is a big risk if you're doing that. So what kind of development opportunities and leadership opportunities are available to you guys? I suppose, Laura, you've touched on this already with your clinical PhD application.
Yeah, so we're a new team. We've only been in, most of us in post kind of 3 or 4 years, 5 maybe maximum. So we're really kind of been thinking about where we go and what we do. And I think for me, developing that kind of nurse consultant role is something that's on my radar. As a whole ED ACP team with our adult ACPs, they've just recently advertised an adult nurse consultant role. So I'm hoping that in the future we may well feel the need for a peds nurse consultant role as well. And I think the big thing for us from a service development point of view, and I guess my personal professional development falls into this as well, is that we're looking at the development of a new department at the moment. So I'm sure that when that comes into place, there will be plenty of opportunity for further development. So
That's
we've just
exciting,
also, yeah, it's really exciting. We've also appointed some new PEM consultants and PEDS consultants recently. So just waiting for them all to come into post and see where we all kind of fit together and what that can bring to our IACP development as well. So really excited about that.
Oh, cool.
So we've started off as quite a small team when I started in Derby in 2014. There was only 3 members of the team. There was 2 qualified and myself, who was a trainee. And we've grown quite a lot over the last 5 years, and we're now doubled in size. So there's 6 of us. And there's opportunities within the trust at the moment. They're looking at restructuring team leadership. So there may be a step up and step down opportunity to lead our ACP paediatric team, where you'll get the opportunity to be lead ACP for a period of time and then step back down, so that you can then give somebody else the opportunity, but also then move on to something else yourself.
That's a really good idea, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I was really excited about the opportunity, and I think there's going to be more opportunities in terms of education and things, and that's the area where I hold the most interest, and I'm considering doing a PG cert in clinical education, and that's where I think I'll probably move on to next, is to get more experience and more education about that area.
That's really cool. I mean, I think I'm quite lucky in where I am, because Queen's is pretty forward thinking in many ways. So we had, and I'm going to get this wrong, so forgive me, Amber Bristow, if you're listening. We had one of our ACPs was clinical lead the entire ED for a while, and she's now deputy clinical lead. We've just started to appoint ACPs as 8Bs as senior ACPs, so to actually be working in that senior role. And the advantage of that is you're then getting more non-clinical time to take on other projects, which then allows you to do things like you're talking about, like doing your PG certs and doing your PhDs. I think, being completely honest, looking at it at the moment, trying to take on something with that much responsibility with the amount of non-clinical time I'd have, it would be very difficult. We've got a lead ACP for the trust who sits very high in the leadership role and is developing stuff for ACPs throughout the whole of NUH. So he was ED by background, but has now moved into that kind of clinical leadership management role trust-wide. So I think there's lots of opportunities that way. And I was really fortunate. I had a chat with James, and he was very, very open and frank with me and said he would rather promote people and give people more CPD time, because actually retention of staff is much more valuable to them as a trust. And it's much better to retain experienced staff where possible than start people from training at scratch again, both from loss of knowledge, but also from cost. So the amount to train an ACP is significant, not just through university time, obviously, but through funding consultant time. So I'm really fortunate to have James and Amber trailblazing, and now we've got 2 8Bs, so Andy and Craig, who are going to be leading our children's ED department. So I count myself really fortunate.
I think the whole ACP thing is really exciting at the minute, isn't it? There's so much opportunity for you to develop and progress without going up the management route and keeping your kind of clinical skills up. I'm so excited about it all.
And I think that's a really important message to give, isn't it? Because, you know, we all went into this role because we love the clinical aspect of it. You know, for myself personally, seeing and treating patients, I absolutely love it. It is what I envisage the role to be. However, doing that every day for the rest of your career is quite daunting. And so to know that there's other opportunities and other doors to walk through once you've done your training and you're up and running is really exciting. And I think it sounds like you've both got really exciting paths ahead of you, which is great to hear.
So is that why you like the job, Emma? Is that your thing you like the most?
I love it. I think for me, my favourite patient to see would be a new mum who's worried about her baby, and just being able to alleviate those worries, deal with the problem and send everybody home happy is just, for me, just gives you that really warm sense of satisfaction that you've helped a family out. And yeah, absolutely. I love that kind of thing. How about you guys? What's your reason for entering the roles that you have?
I think I kind of touched on it a little while ago, you know, the ability to remain clinical but still develop my career. But I love ED because it's different every day. I'm doing different things. Well, not just every day, is it? It's, you know, patient to patient, everything is different. And a bit like you, Emma, those patients that come in that are really, really worried about their child, actually just giving them that support, that information, and being able to alleviate those fears. I find myself saying all the time, you've not wasted my time. I'd rather see you for 10, 15 minutes and put your mind at rest than you worrying all night at home. That's what I'm here for, type thing. And the look of relief on parents' faces is just great.
Yeah, I agree.
So I agree with both of you, what you're saying. And I'm not going to turn around and say I don't love sending patients home, because that's primarily what I do with most of my kids. And I love getting patients home. I'm a PICU nurse before doing ED, and there's a big part of me that's still intensive care. So there's a big part of me that just thrives on that critically sick kid coming in, high stress, let's just focus, everyone's heads down, we've all got a job to do, let's sort this kid out and get them to a better place. And there's something about that situation that I enjoy being involved in, not at the time, but afterwards. And I think for me, ED, one of the things that you don't get is you don't get that thanks that you get on ITU. So you care for these patients for a week. The families are really thankful. Whenever you read in the news about the kid that's gone to ITU, it's always like, the ITU doctors saved my life, and thank you so much to the ITU team. And there's very little thought about the ED team that did that initial stabilisation. Actually, if that hadn't happened, that situation probably wouldn't have ended as well as it did. And that's not me trying to blow our own trumpet. But actually, at first I found that really difficult. I felt like, hang on a minute, why are we not getting recognition? But actually, I don't really feel like I need that recognition. I know I've done a good job. So being able to see that parent going up to ITU, or that patient going on to the ward, and then later following up and hearing that they made a full recovery, and then having that discussion with the consultant body or with the registrar body, with the other ACPs about, like, what did we do here? What was suboptimal? Like, how could we improve? How could we make this better for the next patient? Is something that I'm really passionate about and I really love. And I think the thing that I love most about my day job is that there's always something to learn. There's always something new, and there's always a way to make the next patient's journey, or the next ACP's journey, or the next junior doctor's journey better and safer. And I think that's great. And I love that. And I love the fact that I have a really short attention span, and that I can go from a department with no patients to a 2.5 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour wait within 2 hours. And then 6 hours later, the department can be empty again. And I love the fact that I don't know what I'm walking into. And I may think at the start of the shift, this is going to be amazing. There's nothing going on. I'm going to get loads of management stuff done. And then all of a sudden, there's 2 sick patients, and that's it for the rest of the day. Or there's a young person who comes in who has taken an overdose and is having a real cry for help, and you can make a real difference to that young person because you can show that someone cares, and that you can take the time and you can listen to them and make them feel that actually they're not on their own.
Yeah.
And it's those little things, those little patient contacts that really make the difference, and really, when you get home, make you think, actually, no matter how the day's gone, no matter how low I'm feeling, I can look back and think I've made a difference to someone's life, and there is a little ray of hope somewhere that maybe there wasn't before. And that's great, and I love that.
I think that's really important, isn't it? I think the variety that ED brings is vast. And like you say, no 2 days are ever the same. You will see different things, you will come across different challenges, but there's always a positive. No matter how bad that day is, there will always be that sense that you've made a difference, you have achieved something. And like you say, Chris, there's always room for improvement, and there's always room for learning and taking that forward. And I think it's fantastic. Myself and the team that I work for, we've got quite a range of different interests. And so we have people like yourselves, Chris, that absolutely love the intensive stabilisation of a really sick patient. And then the people that prefer the quick in-out, sort you out and package you on. So I think there's always, it doesn't matter what your special interest is or your background, where you've come from, there's always a place for you within a team in ED.
Yeah, I think it's great, isn't it? Like, such a variety of stuff you can do. And whilst I talked about enjoying kind of the helping parents and getting my patients home, I do like a bit of resus as well. So try and get a bit of time in there. Although we've seen a lot less kind of sick children recently.
I think you have to enjoy it, don't you? Like,
yeah.
You couldn't do our job if you weren't able to work with critically sick patients.
Absolutely.
No, definitely.
Absolutely.
And that is the beauty of ED, isn't it? You kind of can dip in with a little bit of everything. That's why I really love doing it.
Thanks, guys. I think that's great. I think it's been great to chat to you and just share the joy and share the wisdom and the laughs around working in ED, because you do have to have a laugh working in ED. I don't think you can get away without having a sense of humour. There'll be more podcasts from Two Peds in a Pod coming up shortly, and there'll be another couple on ACPs in the coming months. So thank you for your time, and speak to you later.
That's been great. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, no worries. Bye.
Thanks for taking the time to download our podcast this week. If you enjoy our podcasts, please tell your friends and colleagues, and subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and of course our SoundCloud. Thanks for listening.